Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfalla.
And Ray Alfalla is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
Hi everyone, and welcome to opening night. It's time to shine the spotlight on some of the best LMP2 and GT3 drivers around the world as we kick off the 3rd season of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics here on Apex Racing TV. Embarking on an 8-round romp around North America's and the world's most challenging tarmac, we kick things off tonight at a facility celebrating its 60th year of intimidating drivers. The sentimental home of Canadian road racing, the course that put the can in Can-Am, and the original home of the Formula One Canadian Grand Prix, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, otherwise known as Mosport. I'm Greg Ginsberg, and joining me in the announce booth, as always, is Larry Lefty McLeod, while we've got Dennis Branch and Jonathan Grubowski, bringing you all the best angles of our drivers flying around this very intimidating venue for 75 action-filled minutes. So, Larry, our World Challenge drivers have had a few weeks off to rest, relax, upgrade their racing rigs, and maybe, just maybe, contemplate how to approach this new-look World Challenge Championship.
Yes, and hopefully they've taken their chances to drive something not a GTE, because this season the GTE class is gone. We've consolidated. We are now GT3s as well as our LMP2 cars. So the GT3 field is going to be pretty big tonight. We are going to have, I believe, there's a Pro and an AM to that, but we are GT3s and LMP2, so it means competition from front to back is going to be pretty steep. And I'm already seeing we've got a good group of LMP2s as well. 5 of them registered here tonight, and about let's say about 15 of the GT3, so it should be a pretty good way to kick off this new season.
It should, Larry. And so, as you mentioned, the GTE cars are gone. We're back to GT3 and LMP2, and we've had some changes in the GT3 class as well. Last year, we only ran the Mercedes-AMG GT3s, the Ferrari 488s, and the Lamborghini Huracan GT3s. But we now have the Porsche GT3. The Porsche 911 GT3Rs, the BMW M4s, and also the Audi R8s joining us, and it should make for some exciting racing here in the Ricmotech World Challenge. And as we mentioned, of course, we're going to be starting off here at Mosport, at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Very big change from our opening venue last year when we started off at Daytona International Speedway, Larry. But this is a track that should really highlight the speed and power of our GT3 cars and also those LMP2 cars.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Daytona starting out last season is pretty much your typical endurance track. You know, it's got some slow sections, and then you've got your high speed on the banking and the oval. Mosport is a classic natural terrain road course with nothing but fast corners, with the exception of the always treacherous Moss hairpin down there at turn 5. And this place will definitely highlight how well cars can hang on the fragile edge as you're going to go down that hill through turn 2, around that turn 3, and of course, how well can you go from flying down the hill to making that also critical hairpin back out. And I think that's going to really highlight how well drivers have their setup tuned in for a place like this to be able to handle the high speed as well as that hairpin, which is, I'm sure we're going to see a lot of action down there tonight. But this is, to me, it's a great track to start out the season. We'll go north of the border here, check out this Canadian track, maybe enjoy some poutine here this weekend, and really enjoy this great first race.
Yeah, I'm always up for some fries and gravy and always some cheese curds, Larry. So tell you what, we'll actually talk about our upcoming season here in the Ricmotech World Challenge in just a few moments. But as Larry started pointing out all the features of this 2.5-mile, 10-turn Canadian Tire Motorsports Park track, let's turn to the expert Kevin Ford, who brings us this week's track guide.
Welcome, everyone, to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, located here in Bowmanville, Ontario, Canada. Great to have you with us as we provide you your track guide today in the BMW M8 around this beautiful 2.5-mile road course. Canadian Tire was originally named Mosport and was built in the late 1950s, and its first major event was held in August of 1961, with Sterling Moss getting the win in his Lotus 19, hence the name of turns 5A and B, Moss Corner. Well, let's begin our track guide around this beautiful road course here as we get ready to head up the front straightaway. We'll get up through the gears. You'll notice the flag stand on the left as we cross the start-finish line down into this blind entry into turn 1. Very fast corner. Hold on to your hat. It's going to be a quick lap. Up out of 1. We swing out wide to track out for turn 2. Blind entry down the hill here. Wide open. Up into 5th gear. We're going to track out nice. Get a good sweeping entrance into 3 here. Down into 3rd gear, we're going to roll that center, get right down to the curb, come right back to throttle and pin it all the way down this short straight into the blind entry of turn 4. 6th gear, down this hill, hard on the brakes, into Moss Corner, turn 5. Up the crest, brush to the brake, get the car to land right at the bottom, come right back to throttle, up into 3rd, up into 4th, and out onto Andretti Straight. We came out of 5C back there. We're making this slight right of turn 6 here on Andretti Straight, and another slight right, turn 7. This will take us up the crest here into another heavy braking zone, down into the sweeper and into the S's. fourth gear through this corner, take a little bit of curb, down into third, keep it tight, out of the S's of 9, into turn 10, and right back to throttle out of that bumpy, undulating final corner and across the stripe. There's your very fast and furious lap here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Thank you for being with us.
All right, so thanks again to Kevin Ford for that, fast and furious lap around Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. I think Kevin looks a little bit like Vin Diesel, so I think it kind of fits. So, Larry, we talked, and we've got our drivers out on track now for their single car qualifying, their 15-minute qualifying session, and we're actually looking at last season's GTE champ, Elvis Rankin, in his #1 Apex Racing team. Kind of surprising to see him not in a Porsche, but he is driving the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo. He's out on track, and all of our drivers, they are going to be on track, get 4 cracks at the CTMP track, 4 laps to set a fast lap for tonight's 75-minute race. And while things are starting out here, as we have just now 2 times in the books, I alluded to it earlier. Let's take a quick look at our schedule coming up here for Season 3. Of course, we're here at Mosport for Round 1. We're going to be heading to Detroit Belle Isle, home of the Detroit Grand Prix. We're going to be heading to the Far East. We're going to be heading to Japan and Suzuka for a 75-minute romp down there. Road America, Watkins Glen, VIR, Daytona. And we're going to wrap everything up come the middle of December in Sebring at Sebring International. So it should be a great season, Larry. And as we have these drivers now starting to put in their first flying laps, some big changes. Not only, of course, to the different classes, but some drivers that in the past have run with us and have run in the World Challenge in the touring cars have actually made the jump over to the LMP cars, to these Dallara chassis cars. We've got, for example, Randall McGrew in the Genesis Sim Sport entry, the number 67 car. He's going to be running in LMP2. Jennifer McDonald from BTL Racing. She finished 4th in GTE last season. She's going to be running in LMP2. And Caleb Lavender, who currently is our second fastest driver on track in that number 333 machine, the Lavender Racing machine. He's going to be running in LMP2 as well. So we'll see how many of these drivers can give last year's champion Arthur Chan a run for his money.
Yeah, definitely Arthur's going to be the man to beat here. I think it's great to see some new blood jumping over from those GT cars into the LMP2s. I think it really is a fantastic chassis to get out there and try it. It's not as hard to drive as people might say it is. It's hard maybe to get from the 99% of extracting performance to the 100, and Arthur Chan's extremely good at that, and he's going to be setting a pretty strong target for everyone else to go chase. But as you can see early here in qualifying, it's actually Caleb Lavender who's setting the pace right now as we kind of wait for Arthur to get a couple more laps in. So you never know. There could be new competition for him that with these drivers jumping in to compete with him, as he is the defending champion from last season. But I think it'd be fun to see with some new blood out there as we get a shot of Elvis there. Great camera looking at him as he's out there running around in his Lamborghini Huracan.
Yeah, all 14 years of Elvis Rankin there. Looks like he's calling off a lap there as he just turns a 1:16.3 to put him atop of the GT3 Pro class. And as you go and you look at the timing pylon there on the left-hand side, let's very quickly, just to make things a little bit easier for you to pick out. Of course, I don't think there's any mistaking the Dallara LMP cars. They are going to have blue mirrors, blue number boards, as well as blue windshield banners. But the GT3 cars, we do have 2 separate classes. We do have our Pro class as well as our Open class. Primarily the difference is based on the experience level and how long the drivers have been running in the Ricmotech World Challenge. But our Pro class drivers, they will have the green mirrors, green number boards, green windshield banners. If you take a look at the timing pylon there in the upper left-hand side of your screen, you'll see their positions on track denoted by a green background. And then our Open class drivers, same thing, except red mirrors, red number boards. You see them in red there on the timing pylon. Larry, is we're now just a little bit over halfway through qualifying, and things are starting to come into focus a little bit here. As a lot of our drivers, especially in the LMP class, have already turned in their 4 laps. Matter of fact, I believe all of our LMP drivers at this point, with the exception of Christian Eisler in the number 14 machine, I think he's the only driver in LMP2 that has not turned in his 4 laps. Matter of fact, I don't think he's completed a single lap.
I think he's on his out lap right now, so we'll see if he gets a lap in here. Still, quite a bit of time. This is not the longest track in the world to get your 4 laps in. And we know we've seen other drivers do this in the past, kind of wait until track conditions change, either getting warmer or cooler or whatever their preference is. But yeah, it's a really good tight competition there in the LMP2s with Caleb Lavender currently leading the way over Jennifer McDonald, Arthur Chan, and then of course Randall McGrew, one of the other drivers jumping over from classes here into the LMP2s this year. But over in the GT3s, no surprise to see Elvis Rankin there, but it's great to see Evan Peichel just coming up right now in second, as he's really close right now to Elvis's times. I think those guys have each done their laps.
Yep, I was going to say, Evans turned in his 4 laps, and if all things go according to plan, Larry, we should have Evan joining us here prior to the race start.
Why don't we bring him in right now? It looks like he's ready. Let me bring him into our broadcast. So here with us, actually, as we were just talking about him, is Evan Peichel. Evan, pretty good lap you laid down there, just a couple of thousandths behind Elvis. How you feeling about tonight's race going into a new season?
I'm feeling pretty good about it. I feel like I've gotten a lot of pace through the off seasons, so hopefully I can put up a good fight against Mike and Elvis and Travis.
Yes, you've chosen the BMW, at least here to start. Have you got you've been able to work on a setup in that BMW? You think there's any advantage to it, maybe at certain tracks?
I'm not sure if there's any advantage to it, but I have gotten to work on a setup with one of my new teammates, Bo, and the setup definitely feels really good. It's a lot better than just using a random VRS set for last season.
Yeah, for sure. It's good to get one that's customized to your liking and your style. And I'd say right now, based on performance, putting you right there neck and neck with Elvis at the qualifying time, it must be working pretty well for you. So are you, do you think the competition to beat? Obviously, we know Elvis has always got speed, but are there other guys you're kind of looking to run with and, targeting your ending position in this season?
Well, obviously Elvis, and then Mike and Travis. And Andre looks like he actually has some really good pace this season so far too, so him as well.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, you're right. Andre Saunders had shown some pace toward the end of last season, and Travis and Mike and those guys are always really consistent around here. So you've got some tough competition there in those GT3s. And so tonight, you going to share any strategy with us tonight here in the first event? Are you looking to go just get as many points as you can and be conservative, or are you just going to try and go for that win on turn 1?
Well, I don't really have a strategy. I'm just going to kind of go with the wind and see where it takes me. Hopefully not off the track, but I should be able to hopefully get a few points.
Yeah, I think tonight's one of those, I've always said in a long season like this, it always feels better to get off on the right foot, get yourself some solid points in round 1 as opposed to putting yourself in a hole and coming in, 8th, 9th or something like that in this opening round. So, yeah, it's always good for that. But then again, if you have an opportunity to take that win, sometimes you just don't want to miss that either. So, well, good luck tonight. It's going to be a long night. 75-minute race is never a short one. So definitely try and keep it clean, and maybe we'll be able to talk to you in the end.
Thank you. And yeah, hopefully I will. And as my favorite artist says, Bob Ross, let's get crazy.
but awesome. He never gets crazy himself. All right. There you go. That's Evan Peichel, driver of the Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing BMW M4. Larry, Evan, he finished second in GT3 in the World Challenge last season by just a single point. So, he's got something to prove. And as we're already seeing in qualifying, he's right up there with the odds-on favorite, at least early-on favorite, Elvis Rankin. So real quick, Larry, kind of a segue out of that. Let's take a quick look back at Season 2. We're going to run things down.
I thought you were going to make a Bob Ross reference. No, okay, championships, yes.
I'll be here just painting gently as I go and read through this. All right, so quickly, let's look and recap a little bit here. Our Season 2 winner in LMP2 was, and we've mentioned him already, Arthur Chan. Took 6 wins out of 8, had a pretty substantial margin back to the 2 D2D iRacing entries of Brandon Whitworth and his teammate Andrew List. And then finishing 4th from Whipperman Racing, we had Dean Cox and Derek Holland finishing 5th. In GTE, taking 7 out of 8 wins. There he is right on the screen. Was Elvis Rankin. He was driving a Porsche 911 RSR in that class, and a 41-point advantage over Mike Dam and Travis Schwenke. Only 4 points separated those 2 drivers at the end of the season, and then another 4 back to Jennifer McDonald in her BMW M8. As we mentioned, she's going to be running an LMP2 this year, and then Tony Kernan, 8 points back from there in his Porsche 911, finished 5th in the GTE class. And then finally in GT3, Kyle Burney with 3 wins on the season. He is our reigning champion in his Mercedes AMG, representing DNA Motorsports, with Evan Peichel finishing just 1 point back. Also 3 wins on the season in Season 2. In the Genesis SimSport entry, Randall McGrew, who is, as we mentioned, running in LMP2 this season. He was 30 points back, finishing in 3rd. Then Jason Burney and Chris Thorman rounding out the top 5 in Season 2. So, some real close racing, some real close finishes on the season itself, Larry, and I wouldn't expect anything different here in Season 3.
Oh, absolutely. I think the competition is really tough, and I think now being a consolidated GT3 class, you don't have the split between the 2 different classes. They're all in different cars. Now they're in the same field, and they get to choose which car they want. Plenty of GT3 cars to pick from, and I think getting them all heads up is going to make for some tough competition. And I think Evans kind of hit it right. I think you're looking at guys like Schwenke and Mike Dam, of course, and Elvis, and I think Evans going to be right there in that mix. And I think Andre Saunders may be running in the M class in there, but I think he'll be one to run with them in that same class in this field. You might see him even grab a win ahead of those GT3s and pros in some of these races.
All right, well, Larry, here's a big surprise as we're going to get the grid up here in just a second. And he took the pole on his very last flying lap. Christian Eisler out of Santiago, Chile, his first time racing with us. He will be our pole sitter in LMP2, representing Punto CL Racing. Had a fast lap of a 106.092.
What if he's ever been to Canada? Because that's a long way from Chile to Canada for this. So pretty cool.
Yes, it is. All right, so Caleb Lavender in the Archer Brothers Esports machine, 29 thousandths of a second back. He will start on the outside of the front row. Jennifer McDonald will start 3rd. Last season's champion, Arthur Chan in the Axon Driving Solutions machine. He will start on the outside of row number 2, and Randall McGrew will start 5th. Now let's move over to GT3 and the pro class, and we have Elvis Rankin. He's your pole sitter in the number 1 machine, with Evan Peichel starting right beside him, starting 2nd. Then we've got Mike Dam starting 3rd, Tony Kernan 4th, Travis Schwenke 5th, Jeff Jacobs will start 6th, Ryan Reeves will start in 7th. And then if we move over to GT3 AM, Andre Saunders will start on the pole in that number 72 machine. Julian Bell, about 35 hundredths of a second back, will start 2nd. Russ Ruddock will start in 3rd with Ryan Reeves, with Eduardo Lorente starting in 4th, and Jeff Willis and Bobby Childs 5th and 6th. Then we've got Steve Daniel and Alexandros Theologus starting 7th and 8th.
I'll be curious to see if they're actually able to split the field of GT3s into the pros and AMs for the starts, as we do have in our MX5 class in the classic sprints that we watch. They end up intermixing the ST Open and the ST Pro because the sim can't quite create that when they're same classes. So I suspect here you might see Andre Saunders right there on that row 2 of the GT3s at the start of this race, as he is one of the AM drivers, but he's very fast.
Yes, he is, and I believe that is actually going to be the case, which is going to be a huge advantage for him as the outside, we'll call him the outside pole sitter in the AM class is Julian Bell, and is going to be starting in 13th position. That is 3 rows back from Andre Saunders. So it's going to be a tough row to hoe for both he and the rest of the GT3 AM class to get up to our pole sitter here early on, as the pace car now has the field, bringing them around this 2.5-mile 10-turn course, or, you know, since we're in Canada, 4-kilometer 10-turn track, Larry, nice. As they make their way around here on their pace lap. And just to remind everybody, the starting procedures here, and you've seen that the LMP2 cars have now separated themselves out from the GT3 drivers. They will not go on the traditional green flag thrown by the iRacing platform. We have a start zone, and that start zone begins right at the exit of White's Corner, turn 10 here at Mosport. Actually, not right at the exit of it, right at the beginning of it, before you get to the apex. And as soon as our pole sitter,
this is one of the toughest tracks for a start for that reason. So we're going to really be watching for that, because it really is green as you're passing that apex around here. If you're on that second row, you know, if you are Jennifer McDonald or Arthur Chan, you've got to be awake and aware to be able to get on that start, because if the row behind you is aware and you're not, they're going to go blowing by you down into turn 1. And this place is tough to pass, so turn 1 does become critical to at least hold your position. And you'll watch them take that flag around the corner. And we get to the GT3s, the bigger field, it's almost like being at the back of a roller coaster. The front goes, and you're probably not even into turn 10 yet, and you're already green flag. So these two starts are going to be fascinating.
All right, so as our pole sitter is bringing the rest of the LMP field into the S's, as soon as he gets on the throttle in that start zone, it is game on. The stewards will let the other drivers know that the green flag is in the air and racing can begin. If he holds off and does not accelerate, then iRacing takes over, and that'll be the start. But he can start accelerating right now, and you can see that he is on it as they come through the final corner. And now they are on their way, and we've already started. Look at this, jumping to a very quick start on the inside. Jennifer McDonald in the number 99 machine coming down the inside. She has the lead going into turn 1. Kristen Eisler is in second now, with Randall McGrew third. Caleb Lavender, odd man out. He falls now back down into fourth out, and he's actually gotten around. Now let's look at that, the start for our GT3 race, where Elvis Rankin now takes the early jump. He gets around Evan Peichel with Andre Saunders, Mike Dam, Tony Kernan all in a line. Then we've got Travis Schwenke running in 5th in the pro class, just ahead of Julian Bell, our outside pole sitter for the open class, and Jeff Jacobs and Ryan Reeves, as they now make their way through turn 3 and start making their way up towards some of those blind corners here at Mosport, Larry.
Well, as the GT3s have gotten off to a nice clean start, but this is where usual mayhem starts, is down here in the Moss Corner in the hairpin at turn 5. So far, though, looking pretty solid for this field, as Elvis leads kind of a parade through and everyone's just settling in. But this start, we have to wait and see a bit of a replay here as the group here of LMP2s comes into turn 3. Big slide there.
That's Eisler in the number 14. He goes around, impacts the tire wall. He gets back underway, but our pole sitter is now at the tail end of the field in LMP2. Jennifer McDonald, who jumped out to that early start, she had, right before you saw that incident, had actually fallen back behind Eisler, but she is now your leader, with Lavender running second, McGrew third, as we now see Elvis Rankin bringing the GT3 field across the start-finish line to start lap number 2, and it is Evan Peichel. We talked to him just a few moments ago. He is up in second with Andre Saunders in third. Then we've got Mike Dam, Tony Kernan, and Travis Schwenke all in a line as we jump back over to our LMP2 battle here.
Yeah, so the start is under review, the stewards have noted, and I think that the start that they're looking at is the Jennifer McDonald passing down that front straight, getting by Kristen Eisler on that opening stretch. Now, she did give the spot back, it looked like, as they got around 1 before they got to 2. I don't know if that's going to be considered enough, but they are definitely looking at it, and we'll have to see what their ruling is. We've seen this before in the LMPs, in fact, where in last season, I think it happened twice, where the start kind of swapped hands and all. It's up to that pole sitter to decide when to go, and if someone else jumps a little bit too early, they can take penalties. So we'll see if any penalty is doled out, if it is in this case, or if perhaps they let it go because it looked like at least that spot was given back by the time they got to turn 2.
And I'll tell you, Larry, from my vantage point here, and from our vantage point, it looked as though maybe Jennifer McDonald actually didn't get on the throttle until iRacing threw the green flag. I actually saw the red lights in the air above the screen there when it looked like when she jumped out to try and get that advantage. So we'll see how things play out and how the stewards look upon it, and whether or not her giving that position back was enough if they actually saw an issue. But we've got right now here this battle in GT3, and Elvis Rankin, I guess it doesn't matter if he's in a Porsche or if he's in a Lamborghini Huracan, he is your leader, and he's already opened up a 7/10 of a second advantage over Evan Peichel. Remember, the difference was much less than that in qualifying. And then we've got our open class driver, pole sitter Andre Saunders. He is running in third overall in GT3. Then Mike Dam, Tony Kernan, and Schwenke. And again, things are all starting to line up here, Larry. And you mentioned it. Passing is at a premium here at Mosport. A very fast track, not a lot of heavy braking corners, and you really have to learn to capitalize on drivers' mistakes rather than...
Oh, yeah, it's exactly it. It's all about watching for the driver in front of you, staying close enough so that they make that mistake. Usually it's in the hairpin down there, and then they get off pace coming up the Andretti straight before you get to those last S's. And that tends to be the best place to pass. And it may be a combo. You may have to get alongside them, hopefully hold your outside for 8, be on the inside for 9, and still might be on the outside when you get to 10. So it's extremely difficult to get around somebody here. You've really got to work hard at it. But at the same time, if you're a little bit under pace, you can also draft somebody for a while and make some good track position in the long run in between pit stops here. So it can work in your favor, as well as it looks like the stewards have made their call. Jennifer McDonald is going to, and looks like she's doing it now, face a penalty, a drive through the pits penalty for the jump.
That's going to hurt her tremendously and put her now down at the tail end of the field. Even escalating our pole sitter Eisler up ahead of her. Eisler having had that incident on lap number 1, but that is going to be very painful for Jennifer McDonald. She is now going to be almost 40 seconds back, actually almost 50 seconds back from the pole sitter.
She did, though. At least she was able to come out ahead of the GT3 field, which helps her a little bit, not get intermixed with them, which would just further add insult to that injury. So at least she was able to come out in front of them, and I think maybe try and make up some ground quickly here in this race, because this is not the longest pit straight here. This isn't exactly Road America when it comes to pit straights, so maybe the penalty wasn't as severe as it could have been at some other tracks.
All right, here as we look now, Elvis Rankin crosses the stripe, turns in a 1:17.09, only 5/100ths of a second off of his best so far, but he is continuing to stretch out his lead now over Evan Peichel. It is up to just a little bit over a second, and Evan Peichel, he is under attack by the number 72 machine of Andre Saunders. They've separated themselves out just a little bit from Mike Dam in the number 93 Porsche 911, with Kernan, Schwenke, and Bell fairly close behind. And Larry, a little bit of a surprise here. Big contingent of Porsche drivers, but at least for the time being, not able to show a real advantage over that BMW chassis.
Yeah, so this season, that's one of the things that just hit the GT3 field is a Porsche. Obviously, last year it was a GTE car, and they finally released a GT3 version, just like the real world. There's one in every class, sort of like the Ferrari as well, and it doesn't look like right now that the GT3 is as quick, at least not today on this track. It's not as fast as the Lamborghini or the BMW seems to be around Mosport, as you already have the front of the field and the LMP2s catching up to the back of the field in the GT3s. The intermixing is underway, as we get to see some of the excitement that it brings, and the gapping that tends to happen as one car makes it by and the others do not. So this is where the spread starts to happen, and for Caleb Lavender, this is great for him. He can kind of pick and choose his spots. He's got a couple of seconds ahead of Randall McGrew, but look at them just all the way down on the inside through 1, and now he's going to go outside turn 2. No one likes going outside turn 2, but he makes it stick before he gets there and makes his way through that traffic, as Bobby Childs could just sit and watch as he's trying to chase down the 74 of Jeff Wills right in front of him.
Oh, and yeah, and I believe that was Arthur Chan in the number 50 Axon Solutions machine, last year's champion, that we just saw get around Bobby Childs, as well as as well as Jeff Wells and
we haven't
trying to
talked yet
keep it
about pit stops tonight. So, as World Challenge cars, we often do these longer form races. We'll have a pit stop. I think the GT3s are all going to have to stop once. The LMP2s, though,
likely twice.
We're expecting they're going to have to stop twice. So that adds a whole wrinkle here for some of these drivers. And I think for some of the newbies here to the LMP2s, they need to think about that, because we remember last season, we had seen where the first race of the year, 2 stops, caught a couple drivers out because they forgot to change their fuel load and their tire changing strategy as they went back out to the track after their first stop. So that's something these drivers are going to have to think about. Of course, they're probably listening to the broadcast. They now have that little tip to think about.
Well, possibly so. All right, and we can see here that there was an incident between the number 50 machine and the number 38 machine. That is currently under review. The 50 being Arthur Chan, who we talked about a little bit earlier before, and the 38 machine, Jeff Jacobs, in the Mercedes AMG GT3. So a little bit of interclass mixing there, and we'll see what comes of it. But that incident has also dropped Arthur Chan now back to 5th place at the tail end of the LMP2 field, back behind Jennifer McDonald.
As I'm watching here, Elvis Rankin dealing with the traffic now as being the slower car in the field. Watching the LMP2s go around him. In this place, it's tough to get by in the same class. It's not that much easier to go by between an LMP2 to a GT3. And Elvis sort of had to hesitate. If you saw him come down there the front stretch right near the pit out after turn 1, he got a little bit sideways there to the right side. As I think it was Arthur Chan going around him on his left. And all they did was back into the field. The GT3 is right up behind him now. So he's got Evan Peichel and Andre Saunders just on his rear, just trying to make all the pressure they can on him, and Elvis able to breathe a sigh of relief. But I'm sure in about another 6-7 laps, it's going to happen again. And we'll get to see this bit of excitement. It's really fun to watch the intermixing of the 2 classes.
Yeah, and that Lamborghini doesn't look very happy during that long sweeping downhill run through turn 1. And it appears that the 2 BMWs pick up at least a little bit of ground on him in that exchange there. And here as we see some more drivers, this is Eisler, I believe, in the 14 machine coming through now as we see these LMP2 drivers trying to make their way through the front of the GT3 field. That may help keep some of our drivers close to Elvis Rankin. You'll also notice as they go into Moss Hairpin, Larry, that the BMWs do seem to get have a little bit of advantage, I think, under braking compared to the Huracan there, that they close up a little ground, but as quickly as they make it up, they kind of lose it on the exit and coming down the Andretti straight.
Yeah, as one of the LMP2s just goes wide there. I think that is, I didn't quite catch the number there, but going 3 wide down the back straight. But you're absolutely right. I think that's been kind of well known about these GT3 cars. The BMW has always kind of been the stable car, but it was never the fastest car. Being that front engine maybe a little bit more stable in some of these crazier high-speed corners like the turn 2 off camber or the Moss Hairpin. It's a very stable car, whereas the mid-engine cars tend to be a little bit more twitchy. Now, the Lamborghini is known to be at least at relatively easy of the mid-engines. But still, I think the BMWs have that advantage. That could be why the BMWs are running just so fast tonight. Evan Peichel and Andre Saunders, not to take anything away from them and their pace, but with that Lamborghini being maybe a little bit twitchier in the higher speed stuff, because we've got a replay here of Russ Ruddock, and that is not going to turn out well for Russ. He's got the full-on drift mode going through 9 and just keeps it off the wall.
Understeer just does not explain what he just went through right there, as so much more of the field making their way through that final corner going onto the front straight, and he's still trying to get that beast turned around and get back underway. So bad luck there for Russ Ruddock as he now drops all the way down to 8th in the GT3 AM class, 19th overall as he gets that car back underway.
Yeah, so for him, unfortunately, that's an easy way to lose a whole lot of time. But on the good side, he didn't hit the wall, didn't take any damage, he's able to keep it going. As Evan Peichel now is getting all kinds of pressure from the AM driver, Andre Saunders, right behind him, as he's a little bit of daylight out in front to Elvis Rankin. Elvis is about a 1 second ahead of this battle. But just seeing Evan there in the screen, you can see them there at the cam shot. He's working hard to hold off Saunders behind him, and Saunders is just pressuring him with every quarter. They are in similar make cars, so any advantage one has, so does the other. Makes it interesting in these kind of battles. Although it seems like he made his way down the turn 1, turn 2 complex a little bit better that time than Saunders. But I wouldn't look too far in front of him, because at some point here, Tony Kernan, who's always been known as kind of the late race charger, he's back there, and he might have something to say about this battle before this race is over.
All right, Larry, we were talking a little bit earlier about the incident between Arthur Chan and Jeff Jacobs, the LMP2 number 50 machine of Chan, the number 38 Mercedes of Jacobs, and the stewards have assigned responsibility to Arthur Chan, and he has just been given a drive-through penalty. So talking about adding insult to injury, he's already at the tail end of the field. He now has to take that penalty as well. As we take a look now as Caleb Lavender, he's been running a very quiet race here since we had those mix-ups at the front of the field with Eisler and McDonald. And he now has about a 4.5 second advantage over Randall McGrew in the number 67 machine. Now, I was, as we jump, hopefully we'll jump back to the GT3 race here in just a moment. As we were watching Peichel and Saunders nose to tail in those two BMWs, I was looking just a little bit back behind them, Larry, to our first two Porsches, Tony Kernan and Mike Dam. And a huge disparity in, not a disparity, but a huge difference in driving styles. Oh, look at this.
Replay there of the Arthur Chan with Jeff Jacobs incident that definitely caused the penalty there. And you could see Chan, being the faster overtaking car, probably has that responsibility. It's unfortunate for both of them, as Jacobs looks like his day may be done, or he's at least going to take repairs. And for Arthur, he got to serve that penalty in addition to any damage he may have taken on. But
yeah, and Arthur Chan, he is in the, as we go back to live action, he is now in the pit lane. And I would suspect that he's going to be taking that penalty now. We should see him back on track here.
But you were talking about the battle behind the Peichel-Saunders battle, that's Kernan and Mike Dam battle. Those guys are making the way. You were talking about their lap times. They are right now the two of the quickest cars in the field of GT3s. They've been turning laps faster than Elvis Rankin. So I think for those guys, opportunity is knocking, and they're going to be answering that door and trying to catch up to the BMWs in front of them. Because I think Mike Dam is always quick, and I think for Kernan, we've always said he tends to come on late in these races. Well, he's already sitting in third in class, so he's got a good shot as he turns another quick lap, trying to chase these guys in front of him as we're on board with Evan Peichel, and watching him also from his room and his rig as he's trying to chase down the leader in class, Elvis Rankin, and not letting Elvis get away for sure.
No, definitely not. And he's made up a little bit of ground, a couple tenths on Elvis Rankin. I think the gap now between those two drivers is about 6 tenths, and we see now in the battle for fourth, where Saunders has started to stretch things out just a little bit over Mike Dam. One of those points I was trying to make a little bit earlier, Larry, is it looked like Dam was really throwing the car around. Didn't look nearly as smooth as Saunders, not only over some of the curbing, but just turn-ins. It looked like he was just trying to muscle the car around a track that really has a lot of flowing corners. It kind of surprised me, and as we can see now, he's starting to drop off the pace of our top four cars.
Yeah, and that's the thing about a high-speed track, is it's one of those, a little mistake, all of a sudden you lose a lot of speed. It's just hard to get it all back, and then these cars have a couple hundred horsepower, but still, it's tough to get that pace back. And so for Mike Dam, he's going to have to work pretty hard to catch up to Kernan, Saunders, and Peichel, who are battling right now in the second overall in those GT3s, as we've got a good look here at Russ Ruddock, and now over to the Frito Sports of Eduardo Lorente, I believe that is.
Yes, it is.
Or is that Jeff Wills? That's Jeff Wills.
That is the number 74 machine of Jeff Wills. You're correct.
Yep. As he's got all kinds of action going on behind him with Bobby Childs, as well as an LMP2 going by him.
And so Wills currently sitting third in the AM class. He's got Julian Bell running second, a couple cars ahead. He's got to get past Ryan Reeves. But at this point, Wills is about almost 8 seconds behind Reeves, so he's got a long way to go to pick up another spot in class. As we jump back over here to the battle for the lead in GT3, and Elvis Rankin and that number 1 Apex Racing Team Lamborghini Huracan continues to hold an advantage. He's started to stretch things out a little bit again over Evan Peichel there, about 3/4 of a second separating the two entries. But I think probably the big thing here, and the big change, Larry, is that we've got that number 7 Porsche 911 of Tony Kernan now right on the back of our second and third place entries, the two BMWs of Peichel and Saunders.
And Elvis Rankin with that 16.7 that he just laid down, I believe that was the quickest lap of the race for any of the GT3 cars, has helped him gain just enough. You get to that 1 second mark, and you start to break the draft, and as a lead driver, all you're thinking is break the draft, break the draft, break the draft. but you just don't want to give up anything, especially going down the Andretti Straight after the Moss hairpin. And so it's so critical for you, and I'm sure Evan Michael's probably thinking the exact same thing. Don't lose the draft. You got to stay in. You got to stay in. What may help both of them, or may help more Evan than Elvis, is going to be another GT, sort of the LMP2 car coming up at the tail of this field, creates sort of a draft bridge, and it also creates hesitations that perhaps Elvis may have to hold off a little bit. That's at least the hope for Evan, as the I think that's Randall McGrew comes through here.
He's taken to the grass on the inside there, going down the Andretti Straight, heading down towards turn 8, heading into the S's. There he manages to clear those
and for
those
Evan
3 cars.
Evan didn't have to give up anything. He just had to move aside and let him go, which is critical when you're getting overtaken by an LMP2. You don't want to give up time. Now, does Elvis have to give up any kind of position here going through turns 1 and 2? If he does, that's going to help Evan Michael in this little battle that's going on here in these GT3s.
Yeah, and I have a feeling there from the looks of it as we track Rankin now coming down out of turn 1, heading down the hill towards turn 2, that he was able to just very easily let Randall McGrew by on the front straight. Probably didn't take any kind of effort at all there as he maintains his now almost a 1.6 second advantage over Evan Michael. Oh, and look at this going around. It is
that's Andre Saunders.
72 of Andre Saunders.
He was, the leader in the AM class, as well as running in 3rd overall in the these GT3s. He's gone around. I want to say that's probably down at turn 3.
Let's take a look.
Right
yeah, I would assume that it was as they come through there, routing through turn 2, setting up. Going up the slight rise, the blind rise at 3, and just look at that snap.
Wobble. Yeah, that death wobble under braking going into 3. You try to load the car up gently, and it looks like it snapped one way, came back, and finally went around in the 3rd time. Hopefully hasn't taken on too much damage, because that was a pretty hard hit to that wall on the outside of 3.
And so that drops Saunders now back into 2nd in the amateur class, into GTAM, just ahead of Jeff Wills. That moves Julian Bell now in the number 52 Porsche 911 up into the lead. He is running 11th overall. He's made up 2 positions since the start of the race.
Also, just to note, Arthur Chan looks like he is the first one to pit in the LMP2s. So obviously he had served a penalty and also had some contact, with Jeff Jacobs. He is back out of the pits now, so we'll see what he does, having taken his first. And I expect very soon we're going to see leader Caleb Lavender, Randall McGrew, Christian Eisler, and Jennifer McDonald probably doing the same things.
Yeah, and as we mentioned here for the LMP2 cars, we would expect to see them run and make 2 pit stops. We think that the first window, based on the amount of fuel that these cars are given to start the race, first pit window should run about 30-31 laps. So still quite a ways to go, about 10 laps for the majority of these drivers here.
Take a look there. I believe that is Arthur Chan right on the back of Jennifer McDonald as they were going up into turn 9 in the S's. As it looks like Tony Kernan's going to make his way around. I believe that's getting around Evan Michael. So Kernan, as I mentioned, he's kind of a late race charger, and he is doing the same thing here with the spin by Andre Saunders, maybe an opportunity. And Evan Michael kind of faded just a little for a moment, and that's all it took for Tony Kernan to now move himself up into 2nd spot in GT3s.
Yeah, and it should be noted that Saunders, or probably Kernan, one of the fastest drivers on the track, last time by was almost 0.4 of a second faster than Evan Michael. So looked like he wanted and needed that advantage to get on by, and so now move Tony Kernan in that number 7 Porsche 911 GT3R up into 2nd place. The BMW of Michael drops down to 3rd.
Now we'll see if if Michael's just got a moment of just kind of lazy a little bit there and kind of lost his concentration. He'll get that back with Kernan in front of him, or is he going to fall into the clutches of Mike Dam and that other Porsche coming up behind him? We'll have to wait and see. His Dam is looking pretty quick right now, kind of shaking off whatever he had earlier to be able to get his pace back. And so we've got a good shot here of our leader of the race, Caleb Lavender, who's just putting in fast lap after fast lap, clicking off in the mid to high 107s. He's done a 106 in this race, which is ridiculous.
Yeah,
but he's clicking off pretty
nuts.
Consistent 107s. As you can see his lap times there. That 106.4 and then followed it up with a 6.9 and a 7.7. He is just cruising around this place right now. We're not leaving any opportunity for Randall McGrew, Christian Eisler, Jennifer McDonald, and Arthur Chan to have anything to say about it.
Yeah, that 106.4, almost 0.3 of a second faster than anybody else in the LMP2 field. More importantly, at least for the moment, almost a full second faster than Randall McGrew has been able to turn in all race. And the gap between those two drivers right now, almost 6.5 seconds.
And then you see Elvis Rankin here. He had turned his fastest lap of the race back on lap 15, 16.7. But you can see laps, the following two laps, lap 16 and 17, as Kernan almost holding ground within a tenth of Elvis's laps. And that's as he had gotten around Evan Peichel. So I'm wondering if Kernan was maybe being held up a little bit. And now that he's gotten around Peichel, some clean air for him might be good. And we'll see if he can make any ground as this race progresses. And, still waiting, though, for the rest of the LMP2s to come in for their pit stop. Expecting them to have to stop twice. At this point, they can stop anytime. They can go their 35 or so minutes, or 28 to 30 minutes, and then stop, or they may be able to come in early like we saw at the Chan.
As we track that battle once again, that battle for second right now with Kernan and Peichel, and Peichel seems to have recovered from his maybe loss of focus 2 laps ago, as he's all over the back now of Tony Kernan in that number 7 Porsche 911. And Mike Dam, as we've mentioned here, kind of sitting in the background there, maybe a little bit out of the draft, although I don't think the draft helps him all that much here with these cars. But he's staying there in contention, just off our top 3 in class. And it looks like Larry, from as I've been watching him, looks like things have smoothed out quite a bit for him as well. Maybe he's gotten a little bit better feel for that car. Oh, look at this, running wide, going in the Moss hairpin. Kernan runs a little wide there on entry, but looks like nothing that Peichel can do about it. There's
multiple lines through there. I think Kernan might do a little bit more of a V to that corner, kind of dive in, go a little bit. And to me, that's a treacherous line. I'm not a big fan of it because it puts you awfully close, as Peichel looks like he's changed the remote control on his TV or something. But that's one of those lines, if you kind of diamond it off, it drives you awfully close to the outside near that gravel. There's a bump out there, and it tends to drop the camber change a little bit as well. I'm not a big fan of that line, but if you can do it right, it gives you a great run off the exit, the second apex there at 5B to get around and back up the Andretti straight. I prefer the lines a little bit more of a curved arch where you're kind of apexing and just sort of riding around to the second apex and coming out. That way, it's a little safer than the one that Kernan seemed to be doing.
And doesn't load the car up nearly as much
either.
Now, I don't know if you noticed, Larry, when Kernan went into turn 8, there was a strange little wiggle from the back of that car.
Speaking of wiggles,
there you go. Talk about timing as the number 7 car now goes off, and that moves Peichel back up into second. And look at this, Mike Dam now closes things down. Let's take a look at the replay here, as I was just talking about that wiggle from the rear, and there you go. You see the back end of that number 7 machine step out, and he just spends that whole corner trying to recover, Larry.
It almost looked like as he turned in, he got a moment of understeer, and he corrected the understeer, which created the bit of stepping out. It's hard to tell, checking a reg, which one went first, but either way, luckily for him, he didn't completely throw it into the wall, as we had seen Andre Saunders do in that same corner not that long ago. So for him, he's able to gather it, and now he's only about another 2 seconds to gain to catch back up to those guys.
Yeah, assuming he still has some tires underneath him. It doesn't have all that far to go, but you also notice that Mike Dam has really closed things down on Evan Peichel.
And Mike Dam just did a 16.9. I think there's plenty of time in those tires. Just followed up with a 17.0. There's still plenty of tire underneath one of those Porsches, so I don't think that's the issue. I think it might have just been a bit of moment for him turning in that just didn't quite go his way in terms of transferring the weight around. But luckily for him, didn't lose it. It's a couple of our LMP2s. This looks like, I think this is still Jennifer McDonald, and I want to say that's
Arthur Chan, I believe, right behind her.
Yep. And Arthur's a lap down because he's taking
serving
his
that
stop.
penalty and taking the pit stop. Yeah, he is. And again, he was the first driver in to take one of his required pit stops. Now, we were watching for a moment there the 52 car of Julian Bell in his Porsche 911. He is currently leading GT3 AM, and with a pretty substantial lead on Andre Saunders, now running in second. But really, as you can see there's Bell all by himself. Doesn't have traffic ahead, doesn't have traffic behind. And
that's the best view if you're a driver around Mosport. It's just to not have to deal with anybody for a while and have some nice, free and clear air. As soon as you get pressured, there's so many places to make mistakes around here. The way these curbs are all slightly different. and the elevation changes, the speed. It's so easy to lose time around here. So the best thing is just have free and clear track.
All right, and so now we've got Randall McGrew trying to get by our second and third place runners here in GT3, and as they roll through turn 2, it looks like he's going to get it done.
He did. Man, that is not my first choice of lines.
No.
McGrew, the outside of 2 is one of the hardest corners in all of
it wasn't Peichel's choice either.
I'm sure, yeah. Peichel would have rather, but you know what? Peichel was glad at least he had the inside line, because being outside out there, there's just no man's land. But I guess for Peichel, he's glad he didn't have to give up any ground to Mike Dam, as this looks like Saunders now. As I want to say it's Christian Eisler going between them.
I believe it's a 23 of Reeves right ahead of Saunders.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got Ryan Reeves is running 6th in GT Pro there, and Andre Saunders, who is our second place runner. And of course, we saw earlier he was running up in the top 3 before going off track. Saunders sitting right back behind him. 13th overall, still second.
It was Jennifer McDonald and Arthur Chan again getting some screen time as they're working their way through traffic and trying to keep themselves clean. There's a good shot of Reeves in that number 23 Porsche.
Yeah, and you saw, Saunders pulled that car all the way over driver's right. He was, maybe he's heard about Arthur Chan's night so far. He was willing to let him just drive right up the center.
In fact, you think about it, his first race of the season, the stewards are definitely going to set a baseline for what is and what is not acceptable. Passing and in contacts and incidents for what it is. So obviously the start being the one thing, and unfortunately Jennifer McDonald jumped a little bit, was given that penalty. But the penalty given to Arthur Chan, it shows what you're allowed to and not what you're going to be responsible for. And if you're not either passing cleanly or giving up, what you should be, and you're an impediment, well, they're going to penalize appropriately for it. So the drivers are aware of that, and they're making sure that they're doing as best they can to be good. I guess it's sort of a good co-opetition out there, and make sure that they're not holding anyone up and not taking anyone out unfairly.
Exactly. All right, so we're on board once again here in this battle right now for second in GT3 Pro with Evan Peichel, followed very closely by Mike Dam, who's made up a lot of ground. And once again, they're going to have to give up a little bit of screen time there to Jennifer McDonald and Arthur Chan, who are now nose to tail once again heading down into turn 2.
Yeah, and no one liking that line again, but they waited this time. They decided not to go around Peichel, wait for it and go around. I'll go on the outside of turn 3. Why not if you're Arthur Chan?
Yeah, and you saw how much Peichel had to check up there going into 3, and a little surprised that Mike Dam didn't take advantage of that. Looks like he needed a little bit of time to gather things back up after letting those LMP2 cars through as well.
Yeah, you've got to really watch that if you are the GT3. You can lift gently in some places, but you'd almost rather slow to take a lot of speed off than to put yourself in a treacherous bad spot. As we hear this battle again here, as the 23 of Reeves and 72 of Saunders. Not necessarily class battle, but they are like cars. They're both GT3s, but Reeves running in the Pro, Saunders running in the AM. But it's a battle nonetheless. If you're either one of these drivers, you don't really care.
And a matter of fact, Larry, going into 3, I saw Reeves take just a slight adjustment of the car, went to the inside just a little bit. I think made Saunders think about it just a little bit, whether or not he was going to try and sneak by or not. I think at this point, Ryan Reeves definitely looks at this as being an interclass battle.
Yeah, well, and I think Saunders is going to try and push him to that limit as well. As you can see him kind of got his wagon hitched to the bumper of that Porsche right in front of him. Now he's going to try outside going around. Nope, he's just going to fake it and try and stick behind him. Maybe try to set him up coming off at 3.
Oh, and a lot of understeer there from the 23 car.
Real close battle between these two. As Saunders now gets a run off at 3. I think Reeves is driving a lot of his mirrors right now. This is a tough place for Saunders to go, but he's going to try it.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Charlotte area drivers just like that out on I-77, Larry.
Saunders, I'm looking at our Our driver bio, Saunders actually is listed there as running in the GT3 Pro, not in the GT3 AM. I know our graphic has been showing him in the AM all night, but he might actually be a pro.
Yeah, well, and if we take a look at the car there, got the red mirrors, got the
red mirrors tonight.
Yeah.
This is a class battle going on between these two. As you just see the purple number of Elvis Rankin pop up, a 16.6 as he's got free and clear air and still setting fastest line. It's that fastest laps around here. Kernan also down in the 16s with his lap. But Elvis just putting lots of daylight between himself and that second place battle.
Right into the rear bumper there of the number 23 machine as
they
come down the front straight.
Just helping him a little bit, you know,
That's right.
Motivation from the back from the BMW. That's what those big giant kidneys on the front bumper of that BMW are for pushing Porsches along. He's going to make his move down inside of 2, and he makes a stick right as Caleb Lavender comes flying through.
Yeah, as our overall leader tries to sneak on by, we've got now Andre Saunders, who now moves into second place in the GT3 AM. So Ryan Reeves, although we're showing that number 6 machine as being in the pro class, you take a look and take a look at the delivery there. We think he is one of our AM drivers as well. So that was the battle for second in class.
I think Reeves and Saunders are actually both in pro. So I think that that battle's there is actually for 5th and or for 6th and 7th in pro, if I'm not mistaken. I think Bell is still clearly leading in the AM, and I think Eduardo Lorente is currently in second. But again,
okay. Well, again, looking at the cars, and I see red mirrors and
right, they both have red mirrors, so they should both be in pro. Is that green mirror there?
No, green mirrors are pro, Larry.
No, red mirrors are pro.
Okay.
Mike Dam's got red mirrors.
Oh, right. Look at that.
See? I'm right once in a while.
Oh, my gosh.
Doesn't happen often. Send out the party. See, this is the entertainment we provide.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get a little peek behind the curtain. These
Larry,
two guys here trying to call these races.
You know, we'll have to take a look at this and why the pylon shows the pros as green.
We'll work on that for next. It's still round 1 even for the broadcast.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get that figured out. In the end, Larry, it's got to be better than the GT World broadcast this weekend from Nashville. Anyway,
hey, we are doing our better chance here. We've got similar cars, much better broadcast. As Kernan now is up on the inside. Yeah,
once again, side by side as they come now down the tail end of the Andretti Straight into the S's there, and Kernan in that Porsche gets back around Evan Peichel. So we've had a couple changes, couple swaps in position there in the last 2 laps. And, Larry, I guess the one thing, and of course we notice here, is we've got Mike Dam now in that number 93 machine running in second, and he hasn't really been able to sneak away from Kernan and Peichel.
Right as Kernan goes into that wall, a big hit, and that is definitely going to ruin his race.
Yes, it is.
He's still moving, but I don't think he's going to have the same performance. Not in the least.
No, got a little bit of an air brake there in the front.
All right, so quick replay on this as he's coming down here through 1. Looks like he's going to just go a little bit, cross over to the left, and he's got LMP2 comes through. Is that Arthur Chan again?
Yeah, I think Arthur Chan, Larry, might have been involved in a second incident of the evening there as they went through, and the number 7 car ended up off track.
I'll tell you what, why don't we, as they're going to review that incident, so we'll tell you what, why don't we do a quick commercial break? We'll come back in a few minutes, and we'll see what the stewards decide to do with this as you are watching the Ricmotech World Challenge here presented by Performant Elite Texas Graphics, and we will be right back.
Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts, support from experts that love sim racing, trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com. Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
All right, we're back here from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park with round 1 of Season 3 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge presented by Proforma Texas Elite Graphics. I'm Greg Ginsberg along with Larry McLeod. And Larry, as we look on screen and see Caleb Lavender here, you've got an update here about that incident that we saw just before going in the break.
I don't think he wanted this kind of camera time tonight. So that incident we had seen with Tony Kernan getting pushed aside, just nudged a little bit, was in fact race leader at that time, Caleb Lavender. And so Lavender has just been assessed a penalty. He's going to be given his own drive-through penalty for that contact. This now being the second such penalty given tonight for contact by the overtaking LMP2s. Arthur Chan was the other one. So Caleb Lavender, he came in for his pit stop, good and clean, came back out. He's going to have to serve the penalty, and just as we come back from commercial, there he is spinning in turn 3. So his race has kind of gone from very good to very bad in a matter of about 2 laps for him. He's going to really have to work hard to get back into this. He's going to come in and serve that penalty now. So rough midway point of the race here for Caleb Lavender.
Yeah, and a quick update there. As we went to break, Caleb Lavender had come in for his first pit stop, as did the remainder of the LMP2 field. Of course, we know Arthur Chan was our first driver in, but now as all these drivers have cycled through an LMP2, that moves Randall McGrew up into the lead in that number 67 machine. Our pole sitter tonight, Caleb Eisler, he is now only about 4.5 seconds back, actually now about 6.5 seconds back from McGrew, running in second. And we'll have to see with that drive-through whether or not Jennifer McDonald can leapfrog Caleb Lavender, who is definitely the fastest of the LMP2 drivers on track up to this point. As we jump back now over, and there's Mr. McGrew. We were following Elvis Rankin, our GT3 Pro leader, in his Lamborghini Huracan. He currently has, I believe, about an 8-second advantage over Mike Dam currently. So Rankin has really stretched things out here. Now we have had a number of our drivers in GT3 already come in for pit stops. As we now are running at lap 36, so we're getting into that pit window for these drivers. But a lot of the drivers that have come into the pits have actually come into the pits for repairs. We've got still Bobby Childs with his earlier incident being worked on, but we've had Kernan Sanders, Daniel Ruddock, and Theologus, as well as Jeff Jacobs, take pit stops so far.
And Jacobs, throughout all of that time he spent in the pits, he's actually come back out 20 laps down, but he is running, so he's back out there now. But yes, you mentioned about some of the drivers that have stopped, and for regular stops, you've got Tony Kernan and Andre Saunders have each stopped. Saunders' time in the pits a little longer than Kernan's, and I'm wondering if he took some tires on, so that'll be interesting later in the race to see if having fresher tires towards that 75th minute is going to help him out a little bit, whereas Kernan in his Porsche appears to have not taken any tires. So that'll be an interesting one. And then still waiting, obviously, for GT3 leader Elvis Rankin and then Mike Dam, Evan Michael, running currently second and third to take their stops. As there's a good shot of the number 9, Eduardo Lorente. Or sorry, that's number 7. That is the
7 machine of Kernan, and you can see not a very happy Porsche at this point.
No, definitely
looks like
not.
It's a handle.
I'd see the 9 there. That's his position in the race, not his position, not his card number. But yes, that is Kernan. And I'd say the engine's getting cooling, but the engine's not up there. The radiator might get a little more air through it. It does sit up there, but maybe his golf clubs are getting some extra air time here in the front of his Porsche 911.
Is that like a Porsche owner joke?
Oh no, as that's the 93 of Mike Dam off there slightly there at the exit of the Moss hairpin, going slowly down this back stretch. Let's see what he does.
Let's take a look at the replay here.
He comes down the hill, down through turn 4 into the hairpin, on the binders, and runs it off into
and he
the dirt.
runs wide,
That's
as
that
so
line
many
I talked
drivers
about.
do.
Tough. Yeah.
Yeah, and Larry, we were talking about that line, taking that wide sweeping line through there, and a lot of marbles all the way out at that portion of the track, and we see it often. He just drove right off.
And so he's going to come in for his pit stop right now. It's one of those good things. If you have your pit stop to take after you have a bit of a mental lapse like that, get in, get your 30 seconds of sitting still and take a breather. But what that does do is it elevates Travis Schwenke now to 3rd in this Pro GT3. So Schwenke, consistent night so far, got himself up into 3rd, still needs to do his pit stop, as does Evan Peichel and Elvis Rankin in front of him. But for Schwenke, haven't talked about him much tonight, but he's rock solid so far, now up to 3rd.
All right, as we're on board right now with Elvis Rankin, and we've seen in the past, Larry, where Rankin very content to, and especially with the lead he's built up here, to take a very late pit stop towards the tail end of his window, just do a short fill on fuel and continue on. And usually works out very well for him, but the advantage that he has right now is he can pretty much sit back and see what the rest of the field does and how they do on pit stops, because at this point, he has, I believe now he's built up almost an 11-second lead now over Evan Peichel.
Yeah, and again, if you're Elvis too, you have the advantage of knowing your track position, knowing your traffic situation. If you're not in a heavy traffic situation, everything's going well for you, just go ahead and hang on out there as long as you can, turn all the laps you can, and pit later. There's a huge unknown if you pit now where you're going to come out in terms of traffic. So it might be a good idea for him, knowing where he's at, just kind of ease and clear. I want to say cruise control, but you can certainly take it as it comes and hold that pretty substantial margin right now.
There you go. There's Jeff Jacobs in his number 38 Mercedes-AMG GT3, and you can see doesn't seem any worse for wear there on camera as as he makes his way around the hairpin there onto the Andretti straight. Looks like he's had a big wrecks and flips notwithstanding, a pretty easy night there. Doesn't look like he's sweating at all.
As we've got in the pits there, the number 52 has come in to stop. That, of course, is Julian Bell. Time was leading the AM class. He's going to come in for his stop. I'll tell you what, while we have a few minutes in this race, we've got, as he's going into the pits probably eternally, is Bobby Childs. Let me bring him on in here. We'll have a little word from Bobby. As Bobby Childs going through the pit stop motions right now, watching the crew work on the car. You've got a few minutes. Tell me a little bit about how your race has gone, good points and maybe not so good.
Gone is definitely the right word for my race. It is definitely gone. I caught the fabled blade of iRacing grass coming through turn 1 and just straight into the wall, and that was that.
Yeah, that's a tough place to catch. Is that just on the exit of 1, just beyond the curb there, and it just shoots you outside?
Oh yeah, just you catch that left rear, and the car just turns right. And the worst thing about it was that it didn't go all the way around. It just kind of went to a 45-degree angle straight into the wall. Like it wouldn't spin all the way around. Maybe if I could have just flattened it up against the driver's side door, maybe I'd have been okay. But once you get that much nose damage, I mean, there's not a lot you can do.
Yeah, that's the thing about this track is we talk about the speed, we talk about the elevation changes, but it's that little touch of grass coming out of 1 that will ruin your night as fast as any of that stuff. We've all been there. But now that we've dispensed with how you're here joining us and not driving, as we're getting a good view of what's going on here, it's been a great battle in a couple of spots. We've had Tony Kernan battling it out with Mike Dam and with Evan Peichel. Those kind of guys trying to chase down Elvis Rankin. Who's your pick in that field to try and give Elvis a run?
Ooh, when I pitted real early, so I came out right in front of the lead pack, and I got to tell you, Tony Kernan and Evan Peichel were just really, I mean, that pack with them and Mike Dam was just really on it. I got to say, we saw Mike Dam do some more landscaping here a few minutes ago, like he did at Mid-Ohio last season.
As Travis Schwenke's doing that right now, it looks like.
I was just going to say,
yeah,
looks like all the Porsches are looking for the third green there.
Yeah, the Orion Landscaping Team, brought to you by Walker Lawnmowers. If you need some grass cut, call Orion. They're not just a defunct Hollywood production group.
Yeah, so they are right now. We just saw Travis Schwenke going around turn 2, got a bit of a rear end twitch, didn't make contact with the wall, so just trimmed the grass, thought it was good enough. He replaced his divots, and now he's back underway.
Oh yeah, those guys are good at that. But now going back to the the thought of who might be able to take Elvis, I gotta say Peichel. He's got great pace. That BMW M4 is really fast. I'm sure most people watching are aware that that it was co-developed between iRacing and BMW here on the sim. And so far, its shakedowns in real life kind of match its performance that we've seen so far on the sim since its last update to real life spec. I mean, it's a really, really quick car, and Peichel's got great pace in it. If anybody's going after Elvis tonight, I think it's going to be Peichel.
Well, Elvis just came into the pits, and the lead was then given to Evan. So Evan right now leading the GT3s for the time being. We'll see if he can make a run here in the second half of this race. But it's not going to be easy, because I know Tony Kernan has his issues, was in that incident earlier. Mike Dam and, of course, the other Orion drivers like Travis Schwenke have been doing their lawn maintenance. Peichel right now seems to be the consistent one in that bunch. So, yeah, maybe, but he's still got to make his stop. There's a lot of racing left to go.
Yeah, matter of fact, Larry, as we're talking here to Bobby, I was going to mention with ranking coming in at about the 48-minute mark, we were anticipating that the pit windows here for the GT3 cars would run up to maybe about 50 minutes into this race. And so Peichel might be getting towards the end of that fuel fill there. He should be coming in rather soon. I believe we only have 3 cars that have not pitted in as of yet. Peichel, Ryan Reeves, as well as I believe Jeff Willis is the third and final driver in GT3 that has not come down the pit lane yet.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, they're probably going to have to do that soon, or they may find themselves struggling to get down the Andretti straight if they run out of fuel out there. But who knows, a fuel-saving strategy and a little bit short shifting, braking early kind of things, and lifting on your way in, you could save a little bit, as it looks like the second stop now for McGrew, who just went into the pits, and now that lead of the overall race has been handed to Christian Eisler. So McGrew deciding now to take his second stop with about 25 minutes left in the race. So your race leader taking his chance.
Yeah, and I can't imagine going back to Peichel that he would be, trying to do a fuel-saving strategy to go after Elvis. Elvis's pace is, you guys have seen him for the last several seasons now. That pace is so daunting. You've got to be 100% wringing everything out of that car if you're going to go after him. Just saving, in a race this long, an hour and a half, saving 2 or 3 seconds on pit road just isn't going to get you where you need to be.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's nice to then be able to pick when you stop, but certainly you're not gonna gain that kind of time out there. But Elvis has just put down such a pace tonight, and he's just so consistent.
And as we're watching him on screen right now, Larry, he came out back after his pit stop, came out in second position in GT3 Pro, about 22 seconds back from Evan Peichel. And as we've been seeing, the majority of the drivers, their pit stop, their pit lane transit time around 43 seconds. I mean, even if things go perfectly for Peichel, it looks like we're going to see Rankin back in the lead here as our final drivers in GT3 cycle through for their pit stops.
So, Bobby, I got to ask you, we got a good season this year. We're going to hit a couple of continents with our tracks. We're going to go all the way to Japan to Suzuka. We're going to go, of course, to Road America and the Glen, some of the classic American tracks, VIR as well, Lake Sebring, and we got Detroit Belle Isle coming up. Of that group, what's your favorite track on the schedule?
I got to say Road America. It's a great track for the Ferrari, and it's wide open. It leaves a lot of room for the P2 drivers to make clean passes. Like here it's so tight, man. If you catch each other in turn 1, or especially cresting over the hill to the left on turn 2, and you get offline there with a P2 driver, I mean, it can end your race. But at Road America, it's such a wide track. There's so many opportunities for the faster classes to pass clean. It's a joy to drive.
Yeah, I agree. I love Road America. It's just a great venue for these kind of cars, this kind of speed. And I think for intermixing multiple classes, it's a pretty darn good venue for that as well. And we'll be there in October, so I'm looking forward to that one. But we still got another 20 minutes or so here tonight at this track, and we've still got waiting on Evan Peichel to make that pit stop. So this is going to be interesting. We're at almost 53 minutes, and he has not stopped yet.
Hey, Larry, and here's an interesting happenstance here. Randall McGrew back in the pit lane for pit stop number 3. So not sure what exactly is happening here for him, but perhaps he didn't take the fuel fill, or perhaps he forgot to put tires on. We'll have to see here, as we're getting word now that there was another incident in the 333 car, Caleb Lavender, with the number 23 machine. Now, is that the incident that we saw a little bit earlier?
Reeves. 23 is Reeves, so
right.
Possibly, yeah. And so you think about the way this is going. You got 5 cars in the class tonight. Arthur Chan's been involved in some incidents. Jennifer McDonald was given the drive-through for the jump in the start. Kristen Eisler had the off on lap 1 to put him, 20 seconds down from the field. Lavender then has his incident that he gets penalized for. McGrew was the only guy that hadn't really been an incident, but now he's on his 3rd stop. We don't really know why, and he's still in the pits, so there's something going on there, which is unfortunate. So it's almost like who wants to or who doesn't want to win this race for LMP2? Are we going to give the overall race to the GT3 winner?
Well, at this point, Larry, I think the LMP2 field has lapped the GT3 field enough times that probably isn't going to happen. But I think
they were coming by us so fast. I was like, you guys just went by. Why are you here again?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like every 2 laps or so.
All
right, coming down the pit lane.
Witnesses.
Coming down the pit lane now, Evan Peichel in that number 263 BMW for his first and probably only pit stop this evening, and I believe now he is the last of the GT3 drivers to take his required pit stop. We'll have to see where he comes out in comparison to Elvis Rankin. Again, the gap was about 20 seconds between the 2 drivers, and there's Rankin now coming down the front straight.
Yeah, good shot there as Elvis goes on by, and again, his pace is just so strong tonight. And for Peichel, not much he can do, but he's looking to see where is Mike Dam, where is Tony Kernan, the next guys in line, and Travis Schwenke as well. Where are those guys, and how quickly can he come out in front of them once he's out of the pits, and see if he can come in with a podium finish tonight. But this pace of Elvis is just too strong.
All right, so Peichel is now out, and as we maybe made up a little bit of time, as he did not need to put nearly as much fuel in the car. He is only about 8.5 seconds back from our leader, so I believe in the whole pit exchange he actually made up about 3 seconds on Elvis Rankin, but still quite a ways back there as Rankin makes his way down the Andretti straight there. And
so Bobby, with Elvis driving the Lamborghini tonight, Peichel's in that BMW. You're always the guy in the Ferrari. Do you drive the other cars? You just say, if I ever have a chance to drive a Ferrari, that's what I'm going to drive.
Well, yes, I do definitely get out in the other cars a little bit. I mean, I have to have them all because I do the decals for the league, which I just want to say, I hope you and the fans watching at home are enjoying the presentation here with our updated presentation with the GT3 Pro and the GT3 AM. And we now have the drivers' names on the wings to increase driver awareness, so the fans know who they're watching at home. That was something Frank Rico had wanted for a long time. Big shout out to Ricmotech. But actually, the car I'm fastest in when I try these out is the Audi.
Really?
But it's like Christine, Stephen King's Christine. It wants to kill you.
Tries to kill you?
It wants to kill you. It doesn't try. It wants to. It's desperate. It's waiting to find that moment, which is hard for me to talk about because my Ferrari kills me tonight. But I'm faster in the Audi, but that Ferrari, man, when you're in it, And not to mention a competing sim right now, but there's another big competing GT3 sim that also has the Ferrari. And there's a lot of debate back and forth which drives better, blah, blah, blah. The iRacing Ferrari 488 GT3 sounds just so incredible. It just sounds like a race car when you're in it. It feels like a race car when you're in it. There's no other car on the service that, to me, is you get in it, you turn your Dolby surround up, you're in that car, and you're getting the backfire, the roar of the engine. It's an amazing feeling. So even though I'm a little slower in it than I might be in a different vehicle, I just love that 488 so much. And when it finally retires, I am going to weep like a baby.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. You'll bury a bottle of Italian wine in the backyard that day. But luckily, you don't have to. We get to continue to drive the glory of the 488 here in the GT3 world for a while, and it's not going anywhere. It's still competitive. They still do their balance of performance, and of course, here in the Ricmotech series, we'll do our own balance of performance should it be needed. And right now, I'd say we got pretty even balance. As I'm watching the Lamborghinis and at least the BMWs, pretty evenly matched. Obviously, you got to take in the Elvis factor in anything he's driving. For the rest of the humans in the race, it looks a pretty even field, so that's a really good, pretty good balance here in the GT3s.
Yeah, I was racing Jeff Wills back there for a while in the Merc, and sometimes it's felt in the past like the Merc was just so fast on the straights that the Ferrari couldn't keep up with it, but everything just felt in tune. I kind of didn't have a very good setup for tonight. I can tell you that point blank. But the overall pace of the cars, I think is coming down to the drivers right now, understanding how to get that extra little tenth out of it from the way they drive it, from the way they set it up. I do think iRacing has achieved a really good balance with the GT3 field. Maybe with the exception of the Audi. It's really weird that, for a long time they had thrown a 10 kg ballast on the Audi and people quit driving it. Then they took the 10 kg back off 2 or 3 builds ago, and all of a sudden it was the dominant car in iRacing. And here in the last build, they put 10 kilograms back on it, and no one's driving it again. So
amazing how that little bit can make some differences.
Yes, it's crazy. The 10 kilogram curse on the Audi, it's crazy.
So quick race update. It does look like Caleb Lavender assigned another penalty, this time a 5-second post-race penalty for avoidable contact. So again, Lavender's race has gone from bad to worse, it seems. He's currently in second. That penalty probably right now would continue to leave him in second, but he does have to consider that coming to the end of the race, he does have another penalty to be tacked on, as Christian Eisler has got a pretty good lead now of 3.5 seconds or so over Lavender, and then 5 more seconds coming.
Add that 5 seconds, which would still add that 5 seconds in now, and Lavender still with about a 20-second advantage over Jennifer McDonald in the battle for second. Here in LMP2 as we watch McDonald trying to clear her way around some of these drivers. I should also mention that it looks as though Arthur Chan was, much like he was our first driver in for his first pit stop in LMP2, he's our first driver in for his second stop as well, still sitting back in 4th position. And that is still about 36 seconds back from Jennifer McDonald. Actually, I believe... Actually, we're showing now, only a second back. Let me double check that. Yeah, actually, only a second back from Jennifer McDonald.
Yeah, it depends on when they come out of the pits. There's always kind of a bit of a timing lag in there. But, Jennifer, other than the penalty, and she's had otherwise some minor issues here, but she's running a pretty solid race here in a pretty good position to be in third. And whoever never know, with another 14 minutes to go in the race, anything can happen. We've seen a lot of things going on. But in the GT3 AMs, again, I know that the ticker on the side there has got Saunders in the lead. I think it's actually Bell and then Wills and then Lorente are your top 3. So Julian Bell having himself a pretty solid night. And there's, by the way, Bobby, great graphics on his car tonight. I don't know if you did that one or not, but that's a pretty sweet one there on Julian Bell's Porsche.
Oh no, that's Graphite Racing did their own livery. As far as what the league does is, of course, we put together the GT Pro and GT Am decals that are on the cars. The number plates, the Ricmotech branding, all that. But these painters are doing fantastic work. That geodesic paint for Evan Peichel, the Apex Racing paint for Elvis Rankin. I mean, we got a lot of really sharp-looking cars out there, and that's all you know, these teams. It's, you know, they're doing great work.
Yeah, they are. And so for Bell, he's got a pretty sweet paint gig, and he's also got a pretty good performance going on so far tonight. It's, I believe he is leading our AM race there, and Jeff Wills in that Mercedes currently in second in that class.
And he had an early spin right in front of me. I pulled an Intimidator on him and finally got him to go around.
Speaking of a spin, going around
and
is
that's
the number
Bell
16
right into
of
him as
Schwenke.
Schwenke. And Bell just lightly T-bones him going into 3 and nowhere to go as Schwenke come to rest right in the middle of that corner. And so for Bell, I was just talking about him, the commentator's curse, leading in the AM class, slows down a little bit, still has that lead there, but it's going to be in jeopardy now. Let's take a look at the
replay here, Larry, as they come out of turn 2, start to make their way up the hill, and you can see the rear end of that number 16 just walks around on Travis Schwenke, and then getting into the back is the number 20, or getting into the T-boning him is the number 23, actually, of Ryan Reeves. That got into him, then had to continue, and I think Bell was following along afterwards.
You're right, that is Reeves, not Bell there, and but still, yeah, tough for him. And Schwenke, I think he's called the toe as he did the full barrel roll in his Porsche 911. And that's going to probably end his night. That's unfortunate because he had a pretty good run. We were talking about him earlier. He'd gotten his way up into 3rd, and now, unfortunately, it looks like his night may be done as Elvis is coming up onto the back of the 74 of Jeff Wills.
Yeah, Larry, and as we've got just about a little bit over 10 minutes remaining here in this 75-minute race, let's quickly go and reset the field with Christian Eisler, who was our pole sitter tonight. He's now worked his way back up to the lead in LMP2. Jennifer McDonald running in 2nd, Arthur Chan 3rd, Caleb Lavender, and we were wondering, we thought Lavender, even taking that 2nd penalty, Larry, might be able to withstand the gap back to Jennifer McDonald. I don't know if that is the case.
Well, he has taken his pit stop, although it says he's out now. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, we'll have to see what happens when McDonald takes her pit stop. In GT3 Pro, Elvis Rankin, your leader, with Evan Peichel, Mike Dam, Tony Kernan, your top 4. And then if we go and take a look at GT3 AM.
Yeah. Lavender has disconnected.
Yeah.
His race is over. So he will definitely not be finishing any higher than 4th. As we had already seen, I think it was McGrew has been in the pits for the last, half an hour. So he might be finishing technically ahead of McGrew, but that's a rough way for the pole sitter in the class to end his night.
All right, so let's take a look now at GT3 AM, where we have, I believe, Julian Bell currently is your leader in the Graphite Racing Porsche. Then we've got Jeff Wills, Eduardo Lorente, your top 3, with Russ Ruddock and Steve Daniel rounding out the top 5. And again, just about 10 minutes remaining.
And I just mentioned, I said Lavender was our pole sitter. I believe it was actually Christian Eisler was our pole sitter tonight.
Yes, he was.
He's actually out in the front of this field, still has to make, we believe, one more pit stop, unless he can somehow go on fumes to the end. But he'll have to make one more stop, as Jennifer McDonald is also expected to make one more before tonight's over. As there's a shot of Mr. Eisler, our Chilean friend there, all the way from the far end of the Southern Hemisphere, coming up here to join us at Mosport, all the way up in Canada. Really cool. This has really turned into a global league, as obviously we've got a lot of drivers from the U.S. and Canada in the league. Really great to see some coming in from further away in other places like Chile.
Yeah, we've had some European drivers as well in the past. I'm sure you guys remember Aeronam, of course.
Oh yeah, very fast European driver.
Oh yeah, a couple other guys, and it's we love having those guys, but this tends to be very late in the morning for them, so they're having to race really quiet, and they can't get excited like, hey, great job, and they're like,
yeah. 2 or 3 in the morning, green flag for an hour and 15-minute race is tough to do when you're in the European continent, but for our drivers in Chile, not a problem at all. They're on a similar time zone here to North America, so they're able to make it work. So that's really neat that they can come in, and hopefully he'll be able to invite some more friends in from the South America region and come join this great league.
Oh yeah, we got plenty of room for many more cars out here. We would definitely love some more LMP2 competition. We could definitely use 3 or 4 more GT3s in both Pro and Am. We welcome it. We want everyone to come in, all skill levels. That's what we have the AM class for. So, come on, register at, extrememotorsports99.com/road and come on and see what we're about.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people would really enjoy this league. It's been a lot of fun calling it now for a couple of seasons, and I think it is one of the best leagues in the way that it's run. It's got some great talent. I think it looks like a lot of fun to be a part of, and if I wasn't calling it, I would find my way into it as a competitor. So, Bobby, I tell you what, we are going to call the last 7-8 minutes of this race and kind of let you get back to putting your car back together and getting ready for that next round. So, appreciate you joining us here tonight, Bobby.
Thank you for having me, guys. I want to real quickly send a shout out to Stubby in the chat as always. And my teammates who are all battling various issues between work and health. We got I'm sure you noticed there's a lack of D2D out here tonight, and it's just this is being a tough season for D2D. Everybody's got something going on. I want to send a big shout out to all them, to Chris Thorman, our team sponsor, who is recovering now from the Rona. So we wish him the best on that.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully he's going to be back up on his sim here in no time. So get better on that one, Chris. So thank you, Bobby. We will definitely keep in touch, and hopefully in other races we'll talk to you after the races as opposed to before the checkers fly.
Before or during. Yes, exactly.
Wishful thinking. I love it.
All right, Bobby. Thanks.
All right. There you go. That was Bobby Childs, driver of the number 88 D2D iRacing GT3 Ferrari. Want to thank Bobby for sitting in with us as well. He didn't have a lot else going on during this race, unfortunately, but hopefully better things are ahead for him in that Ferrari as we go into round 2 of the Ricmotech World Challenge in just a few weeks. All right, so as Larry mentioned, now just about 5 minutes remaining here from Mosport, from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, and as we said, Christian Eisler, your leader. There he is on track right now in the number 16 Dallara LMP2 machine. Jennifer McDonald currently running in second. She is almost 23 seconds in arrears. So Eisler opening up a very good advantage now. We have not seen a second pit stop from either he nor Jennifer McDonald, so we'll have to see if they can make it last the last 5 minutes or so. And if either of these drivers does come in for a pit stop, we would suspect that they probably will have to get a splash before this race ends. Elvis Rankin now with a pretty substantial advantage, has opened things up. It was 8 seconds, I believe, when Evan Peichel finished up his pit stop. Rankin has now expanded things out to just a little bit under 14 seconds, with Mike Dam and Tony Kernan running third and fourth. And
those
then
lap times of Rankin, though, he's just putting down 17s, even cracking a 16. We're on lap 53. These are 53-year-old tires. 53, not lap.
53-year-old tires.
53 lap old tires, and he's still clicking off times in the high 16s, low 70s. Just an amazing pace for what he's done.
And he's had a lot, and since his pit stop, he's actually had quite a bit of luck here. With a lot of open track, not a lot of pressure. Hasn't really had to take any evasive action other than, the random LMP2 car that comes through every couple of laps. But he's had a pretty easy run of it since the pit stops here. And whereas Evan Peichel actually not so much. He's had a lot of traffic to work through. So here, and there's Peichel in the number 263 BMW M4 as our overall leader works on by. But I think in the end, though, Evan, and we spoke to Evan before the race started here, and want to thank him once again for jumping on with us pre-race. He's had, I think, he'll put this down as being a rather successful outing for him.
So far, so good. With just about 4 minutes to go, probably about maybe 3-4 laps on that, and we'll see if he can bring it home and get himself a podium here in the first round.
All right, and if we look at GT3 AM, Larry, so we're pretty sure now that Julian Bell is your leader in GT3 AM. Is that correct?
Looks like it is, yes. And he should be your leader in there with Mr. Wills in second.
In second in the Mercedes, and then Eduardo Lorente, one of our, I believe, our only remaining Ferrari on course. He is currently running third in the number 9 machine, with Russ Ruddock fourth. and Steve Daniel 5th. There's the black Ferrari.
So Lorente, he's out there flying around in that Ferrari. A nice quiet night, and hopefully for him, he's a couple more laps away, and he'll have himself a podium here in the AM class of the GT3s. He's only a couple seconds behind Jeff Wills.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Jeff Wills, we saw him going in the corner just ahead of him. And last couple of laps, Lorente's actually, I think, been running it considerably faster, almost 3/4 of a second a lap faster. Actually, there you go. There's the breakdown on screen. But almost every single lap for the last 5 at least, Lorente making up quite a bit of ground. Don't know if it's going to be enough here to get up to him, let alone get by, with now only 2 minutes remaining on the clock. So not a lot of laps, not a lot of time here. But I'm sure Lorente is going to make a run at it there, and we can see just a couple cars ahead is Jeff Wills in that Mercedes. But you know, the other issue there is Lorente is going to have to get by. He's going to have to get by the machine just ahead of him in order.
Yeah,
to
Alexandros Theologos, I think, is that black Lamborghini in between them, and that's, I think, should be a lapped car.
Yeah,
Mr. Theologos. That obviously then Lorente is going to have to get himself around one Italian mid-engine sports car to another. He's going to have to make his way by him to have a shot at catching that AMG up in front of them of Jeff Wills. The drivers talking to each other. I get a little chatter in my ear, so I think that's one of those like, hey, come, go by as soon as we come out of the corner, and maybe he's going to get a little draft to get a better run down the Andretti straight. The time is running out now. Just about a minute or so to go. So depending on where Mr. Christian Eisler is, that'll end up determining whether white flag comes out now or next time by.
Here we go. Let's pick up our leader
There
as he
is the white
comes
flag
out of the final corner onto the front straight, and as he crosses the stripe, there is the white flag in the air. And so now Christian
and Elvis
Eisler
Rankin's right behind him, in fact, on track.
Yeah. So I think Elvis has a pretty good spot there. And now knows exactly if he's going to have to worry about getting lapped or not by our leader, and he doesn't. Here is Christian Eisler now starting to make his way on his very last lap here, round 1 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Series at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And Larry, it's been one. I think we can already tell now that unless Eisler runs out of fuel on this very last lap, and God knows I don't want to ruin it for him here with the announcer's curse, but Eisler a tough run tonight. He was jumped on the start. That driver was penalized, of course, but then he spun on the very first lap, fell all the way back to the back of the field, almost 20 seconds back from the rest of the field. But now as he comes onto the front straight, Christian Eisler from Chile, he is our first winner in Season 3 of the Ricmotech World Challenge in his Dallara, and now coming across the line, winning GT3 Pro in his Lamborghini Huracan. It's Apex Racing Team's Elvis Rankin.
In fact, Bell, also your GTM winner, had already crossed right behind Eisler, so he's already taken the win there in the GTM, the GT3 AM, for Mr. Julian Bell.
Yep, and there's Bell right there, the Canadian home track advantage in the number 52 machine, and he takes the first win of the season in GT3 AM, GT3 AM, and so now crossing the stripe, looks like Jennifer McDonald will cross the stripe in second. There she is in the number 99 machine. Tough run for her. She had that early jump start that she had to take a drive-through penalty on, worked her way back up through the field, and she finishes in second. Arthur Chan in the number 50 Axon Solutions entry will finish in third. So Larry, as the rest of our drivers go and come across the start-finish line, why don't we go? We're going to take our last commercial break of the evening, and when we come back, we'll go and we'll run down the finishing order here from Mosport, from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. You are watching, and you have watched, the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics. We'll be right back.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.
All right, and we are back here at Mosport Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, where we've just witnessed great finish here for round 1 of season 3 of the Ricmotech World Challenge. And Larry, now that we've got all of our drivers crossing the line, why don't we go and run down the final finishing order here? Actually, we have it up on the screen here, as you can see, with Eisler, McDonald, and Chan taking the top 3 in LMP2. In GT3 Pro, Rankin, Peichel, and Dam finish up at the top end of the field there, with Tony Kernan and Andre Saunders finishing 4th and 5th. And then finally in GT3 AM, Julian Bell took the win, with Jeff Wills 2nd. Eduardo Lorente not able to make up all that ground on the very last lap. He'll take the last step on the podium. Russ Ruddock and Steve Daniels rounding out the top 5. All right, so Larry, as we go here, I think we've got sitting in the green room right now our overall winner, Christian Eisler, in the number 14 machine. Why don't we bring him in?
All right, we have got your overall winner and your winner of LMP2 in his rookie debut, his maiden voyage in the Ricmotech Series, Christian Eisler. Christian, all the way from Chile tonight. What a great performance. Walk me through a little bit of your introduction here to the Ricmotech Series. Oh, I think he's on mute. We're going to try and unmute him. Give us a second here.
Hi.
Hey there. Can you hear us okay, Christian?
Yes.
Excellent. So welcome to Ricmotech. Tell me a little bit about your introduction and your first maiden voyage to victory.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your words. It's my first time here in the league, and no better way to start here. It was a crazy race, pole position, mistake in the first lap, and then trying to catch up to the leaders. They made some mistakes too, and finally I can take the win. I'm really happy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you described it really well. It's a bit of a crazy night for yourself and even for the rest of the LMP2s. But after that early spin, you seem to really get your head back together and really go after it. As you come through the field, how difficult is it? Tell us a little bit about trying to pass even the slower GT3 cars around this very treacherous track.
Yes, it's very tricky here because it's a very fast circuit for the LMP2. So most of the turns are very difficult to measure the distance, the optimal distance with the GT3 cars. So a little bit of patience, and when the circuit is free of traffic, trying to go fast, and in the later trying to save some fuel to not stop a second time.
Yeah, you seem to do that very well. In fact, we were expecting that you would have to come again, but you went right on to the race with the one stop. So a good job of being able to save the fuel right up to the end of the race and manage to get it across without that second stop. And really, that might have helped you along to that victory. So a great race, a great night for you. Your maiden voyage here in the Ricmotech Series, and hopefully we're going to see you a lot this season. Is there anybody you want to thank for the victory you've got tonight?
Thank you for your words, and see you the rest of the season.
All right. Thank you, Christian.
All right, there you go. That was Christian Eisler, our overall winner tonight in the number 14 Punto Cielo Racing machine, all the way from Santiago, Chile. Larry, next up, we're going to bring in Elvis Rankin, our winner tonight in the number 1 Apex Racing Team Lamborghini. Here he is.
All right, here with our winner of the GT3 Pro class tonight, Elvis. Again, you're on mute, so make sure you get yourself unmuted. Glad to have you back. We'd missed you for a couple of weeks in some of the other series, so really happy to have you back here. And what a great way to kick off this season here in GT3.
Yeah, it's a really good way to kick it off. and it's just the way that I wanted to. Obviously, it's been a little while since I've driven a GT3. It's been about a season or so, but I did win a championship, so I do definitely have some speed in this thing, and I love driving it, so it was really fun.
Yeah, your speed was really tremendous. In fact, your pace, you were still clicking off a couple of 16s there toward the end of the race. Tires not going away in this car, it just kept getting faster and faster, it seemed, over the course of the 75 minutes for you.
Nah, it's a superset. Apex Racing Team absolutely bomb job on a set. It literally was like, I don't even know how to describe it, but it was like halfway through this first stint, I was banging like I think it was like a 16.4. Like I was absolutely just flying, and I was like, yeah, probably gonna get BOP'd, but I was having so much fun doing it. It's so much fun to drive this track. Car is amazing, and yeah.
Yeah, your pace was pretty strong tonight, but for the early part of the race, you had some pretty tough competition there. I know Evan Peichel gave you a pretty good push there, maybe even with some of that LMP2 cars kind of getting through, but you had him. You, of course, had Mike Dam. Even Andre Saunders in there for a while. These guys look like they might be a bit of a challenge for you as the season goes on.
Yeah, we'll have to see how things turn out with the BOP, and I know that I have the pace like last season. It's just down to the BOP and what car is better at what track. So it's kind of, at this point, I know I have the pace. It's not in my hands anymore.
Well, your hands were fast and very clean here tonight. A great run for you to get that victory. So, Elvis, who do you want to thank tonight for your maiden victory here this season?
Yeah, for sure. Want to thank Apex Racing Team, everything that the guys have done for me over there, providing the big superset tonight. I just give a big shout out to Kevin Ellis Jr., Zach Campbell, Jamie Fluke, Maxime Briant, all of those guys putting together this mega set. I did not know if it was going to work, but I definitely found something that I felt very, very comfortable with over a distance and over a short run speed, and consistent throughout the whole run, like I said. But of course, I want to thank our team sponsors. So SDK Gaming, Apex Racing Academy, Virtual Racing School, and Simputers. Thank you to those guys for just keeping all of our cars on the track. And of course, our team owner, Alex Simpson. Thank you to him. I want to thank my mom, my dad, my grandma, my grandpa, and thank you to those guys so much for supporting me on and off the track and everything. And I want to thank, of course, Extreme 99 for everything that they do for the league. Of course, Ricmotech, Frank, and then the admins, of course, Kevin, Jeff, Ryan. Thank you to those guys so much. Actually, and Russ Ruddock and Bobby Childs as well for putting all this stuff together with the paints and the scoring software. Thank you so much to them. And yeah, of course, you guys at Apex Racing TV for doing an amazing job broadcasting, as always.
I appreciate the nice words, and your whole team, I'm sure, is a big, strong supporter of you, and they're looking forward to a lot of these kind of performances throughout this season. So good luck in the next round, and I'm sure we'll see you then next time, setting the standard for them all to chase.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
All right, thanks, Elvis.
All right, there you go. That was Elvis Rankin, driver of the number 1 Apex Racing Team Lamborghini, tonight's GT3 Pro winner. And now, finally, Larry, let's bring in Julian Bell, our winner in GT3 AM.
All right, so we've got the winner of the GT3M with us tonight, Julian Bell. And Julian, it's a crazy night out there on this track, maybe a home track for you, the Canadian here from Mosport. Tell me a little bit about your evening.
Yeah, I guess it is my home track, only about an hour away. It was a good night. It was a lot of fun. It's been a while since I've been in the car for a race this long, which isn't even too long. But yeah, my teammate that's also racing tonight told me about the series, and joined it, and spent the week getting some solid practice in, and I guess it's a good turnout for the first race of the season, that's for sure.
Yeah, the practice definitely paid off tonight. I think being able to kind of be in there consistently, but wasn't without a whole lot of activity, because it seemed to be a bit crazy out there at times between whether it be cars spinning and going off, people kind of throwing their races away. Did you have any issues like that, or were you just trying to steer clear of a lot of the folks who are going off and collecting grass out in front of you?
Yeah, it's funny. I had passed a couple, and I was thinking freebies as I was driving along, and of course, a few laps later, I have a small lapse in concentration and toss it off and turn to myself. So easy to do, but especially when you have little lapses like that. Fortunately, I was able to control it relatively well. It still kind of touched the wall, but was able to get it out, and that was my cue to kind of get into the pits and rest my brain for a second, get back out, and then just try to chip back to see what I could do, and it turned out all right.
Yeah, it definitely did, and allowed you to kind of quickly recover and get back out and finish the race strong and taking the win there in the SAM class. And in a couple weeks at our next round, not too far away from you either, going to be a Belle Isle over Detroit. Just got to get across the Ambassador Bridge and come play in Detroit that next round. So got to start out in your part of the world. It's not always so bad. But with this victory tonight, anybody you want to thank for your performance?
Yeah, my brother helps us with the setups. He did a very good job at this one, and so he's already working on the next one. So big shout out to him for that. My teammate Ryan for the practice and the help in practice throughout the week. And you guys, thanks for doing a good job with the broadcast. Looking forward to watching it, and of course all the admin to the series too. It was a lot of fun today. They're really on top of things. It seems like with the in-race penalties and everything. So really looking forward to the rest.
Yeah, we are too. I think this is going to be an exciting season here in the World Challenge. So congratulations for the win tonight. We'll definitely see you in the next round.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a good night, guys.
All right, there you go. That was Julian Bell, driver of the number 52 Graphite Racing Porsche 911, our first winner of the season in GT3 AM. And, Larry, we talked to him before the race, so maybe a good bookend. Let's bring in Evan Peichel, the driver of the number 263 BMW, came in second tonight in GT3 Pro.
Evan, we talked to you about almost 2 hours ago as we were just coming on the air. We just done qualifying, and you were kind of setting your strategy. Weren't quite sure what strategy you would employ tonight, but after some craziness of Saunders kind of working around and he goes off, and then you had some pressure there from Tony Kernan, and you had Mike Dam in the mix, and suddenly you end up second here on this podium. How'd that night actually play out? Was that part of the plan that you weren't sure was going to go?
Well, it was definitely a crazy race. So I wasn't too worried about them being in front of me because I knew they could hold really good pace compared to Elvis as well, and I could just feel safe behind them. So when they passed me, I just kind of tucked behind them and feel saved. But I ended up losing Elvis just more than I wanted to because he's crazy fast. And then 15 minutes to go at the end of the race, my wheels cut force feedback on me for about half a lap, and that just really knocked me off my pace.
Yeah, that takes you out. Even if it comes back, it tends to kind of get into your head a little bit. You start thinking about it, but his margin at the end behind Elvis might have been pretty large, but you held a pretty tough field behind you, able to keep it clean, and maybe that at the end was probably the best strategy to execute, was just to keep it clean and not to take any crazy risks. But that fuel saving was impressive. We weren't sure how long you were going to go, as we were expecting around the 50-minute mark, and I think you came in almost closer to the full 60. Is that just lifting a little bit at the end of straights, or is that short shifting? Is there a secret to it?
Well, a lot of people say I'm really good with fuel saving, and half the time I don't even try. So I don't really think there is a secret to it, but I pitted a lap early. I could have gone one more lap.
Wow. Well, that may be good as the season rolls on for some of these other rounds to be able to go late in the race and do kind of an overtake on the pits. So really a good run tonight, coming home in seconds, good solid points to pick up here in the first round. Anybody you want to thank for the run you had tonight?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Bo on my team for helping me learn this track a little bit more, and he definitely gave me the 10th or 2 that I needed to finish strong in this race. And I'd like to thank all our team sponsors, Alpine Stars, GoPro, Omologato, Wave Italy, and all the other ones that help us to stay on track. And I think that's it.
Well, that all paid off to be able to hold a tough field behind you and have just that huge target out there to go after next time in Elvis Rankin. But good luck in chasing him down as the season progresses, and we'll see you in the next round at Belle Isle.
Yep, I will be looking forward to the next round. And, as Shunzu always says, balk the enemy's power, force him to reveal himself. So that's what I'm going to be trying to do to Elvis and Mike the next few races.
Oh, I love it. Got to have a philosophy. Thanks, Evan. Appreciate it. You have yourself a good night.
All right, there you go with Evan Peichel with words of wisdom for us all, and I'm just amazed it wasn't Bob Ross. But there you go, driver of the number 263 Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing BMW M3, finishing second tonight in GT3 Pro. And so, Larry, that will wrap things up for tonight. Want to remind everybody, if you liked what you saw, go ahead and smash that thumbs up here on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to the Apex Racing TV channel, as well as all of our different social media platforms, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, or also, hey, what's that other one? Oh, yeah, it's Facebook. And all you have to do is search for Apex Racing TV, one word. You can find out about all the great motorsports events, virtual motorsports events going on from around the world day after day here. And we, of course, would really appreciate it. So, Larry, why don't we take a look at what we have coming up on the schedule here. And if it's Monday night, it's Ricmotech. And starting next Monday, August 16th, we've got round 5 of the Classic Sprint Series. Those are our Mazda MX-5 drivers. They're going to be at the Hockenheim Ring. They've been running some 30-minute sprint races each week. We're going to expand that out to 60 minutes next Monday night, so you don't want to miss it. Same time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Then on August 23rd, 2 weeks from tonight, it's round 2 of the brand new Lambo Trophy Series, a single make fixed setup series for the, well, go figure, the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evos, and they are going to be at Watkins Glen. We're going to have for them 2 30-minute sprint races, as we do every week with the Lambo Trophy Series. And then September 13th, the World Challenge returns, and round 2, as Larry, you mentioned, is going to be at Detroit Belle Isle. And we're going to do things a little bit differently at Belle Isle. What we're going to do, we're going to split up the P2 and GT3 classes, and each one is going to have a 40-minute race at Belle Isle. But you definitely don't want to miss it. And of course, to find out about official results and series information for all of the Ricmotech series, make sure to head over to Extreme, that's extrememotorsports99.com for all of our race info. So for Larry McLeod, for Dennis Branch and Jonathan Grabowski back behind the scenes, I'm Greg Ginsburg. Make sure to join us next Monday night. We'll see you then.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.